Good morning, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi, here in Yerushalyim, here in HaKodesh, located not too far from the central bus station. Sure, you can walk over here, take a bus, drive. If you're coming from Furst, please, we'll be happy to have you participate in our sharing. We're learning right now Pirkei Avos, our first share of the day. We have coffee, breakfast here, whatever you might like. If you don't see something that's being served, we can put a request in, and our chef, Dr. Zhao, will do his best to accommodate your culinary desires. So, Pirkei Avos, the first parak, Mishnah Gimel, in Tigelus Yisoichai. Oh, Shlomo, let's start with we'll go through Rashi, the Rambam, Rabbi Yonah. We'll just start again. Let's maybe just read the third Mishnah there. The first parak, the third Mishnah in Avos. And Tigris Yisoicho, Kilva Mishimon Asad.
Yisoicho, קיבל משמעון הצדיק. הוא אומר, אל תהיו כעבדים המשמשים את הרב על מנת לקבל פרס. אלו היו מעבדים המשמשים את הרב שלא על מנת לקבל פרס. והיא מורה שמיים עליכם.
So we have a few things that are mentioned here. In Tigris Yisoicho, first of all, he was Makabel, as Rashi will say, he was Makabel. What was he Makabel? He was Makabel Torah. He was Makabel Torah from Shimon Tzaddik. And he said, primarily, that we shouldn't be like servants that are serving their master in order to get a reward. Rather, it should be like servants that serve their master not in order to get a reward. And, right, nevertheless, you should still have your fear of Shemayim should be upon you. You should have years Shemayim. So, before we go to Rashi and the Rambam, other before Rabbi Yonah as well, I'll just mention what the Vilna Gaon says here. Vilna Gaon says that this Mishnah is specifically relating and speaking to Geri. Okay, it's not talking to a Jew. Why? Because it's not shayach that a Jew can ask or be oiv in HaKodesh Baruch Hu, right? Almanas l'kabel pras. It's not shayach. Why is it not shayach? Because we're avoiding to HaKodesh Baruch Hu. We originally, this is going to get the Pesach. Okay, we're starting 30 days of Pesach. We're going to say this over in the Seder. We're avoiding the Paro, and Hashem, Otziano, Mitzrayim, Biyad Chazak of Israel, and the Torah. Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim with the outstretched hand and a strong arm, right? And with publicity and open miracles, not quietly. And when we became free from power, we became subjugated to Kadosh Baruch Hu. It wasn't just freedom. It was no, you're leaving the subjugation, the servitude, the slavery of Paro, and now you're becoming slaves and servants to Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? So therefore, we're going to say that you can't expect anything from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? We don't have any right to expect anything. The only one who can maybe expect to get something from a Kadosh Baruch Hu for the fact that he's fulfilling the mitzvahs is a ger, because he doesn't have to come in. He could stay. And I'll tell you, like I was in Prague over the last week, right? So one of the things about the Czech people, they're known that they drink 2 to 3 times more beer than anybody in the world, right? No, they have one of my friends in the Yeshiva said I should have taken a picture of it so I can put up a forum. Said in English, you're in a residential area, right? And therefore drinking and drunkenness is forbidden on the streets. Right? The Meshkiach in the hotel where I was staying, I says, it's a big problem because they drink and they get it's poured by them every day. it's they're koifer, they're chazer all the time. So look, that's their life. They don't have anything that they have to do. They don't have to get up, say Kriya Shema. They don't have to say Kriya Shema before they go to sleep.
But in the States, they didn't have bars. People didn't go to bars all the time.
Yeah, for sure. But you never saw a sign. I never saw a sign like that. That you know, Atabi Yishuv v'asur yishukor barachov.
That was when you're not in a private residential area. You can drink and drive drunk.
Yeah, I guess if you're in the park or something like that, you know, whatever. So that's the way it is. So again, they don't have to say Kriya Shema in the morning. They can sleep it off all day long, right? They're free. So if a fellow like that decides he wants to start keeping mitzvahs, he maybe has a havamina then he can ask for a reward from HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Even then, according to Vilna, he shouldn't ask for a reward from HaKodesh Baruch Hu. But a Jew, that we were taken out of our slavery and became slaves to Hashem, if a slave asks Megilli, if he says to his master Megilli, he's got the wrong idea of slavery. You know, he doesn't think he's a slave. He thinks maybe he's a worker, and the guy and his master's a boss. You know, go on strike. You got unions and all these kind of things. That's not the derech of Avos. Avos is poshet. Avos is his servitude.
So it's not by choice, this thing here.
Right. This is not by choice. It's not by choice.
So why do you have to say it? You should realize the position, right?
Exactly. Right. Realize the situation. This is what
Out
the.
to you, it seems like you have a choice.
Right. Now Hashem does give us reward, right? There's no question Hashem does give us reward. But we shouldn't be doing it, we shouldn't be serving Hashem on the condition that we'll get the reward. Hashem definitely gives us a reward. He wants to reward us.
What's the word mitzvah?
A tzivoy, it's a commandment. A commandment. So just like a person,
You don't say to the kids it's a mitzvah when you tell them make a bracha. You said it's a mitzvah, right?
Yeah, it's a
And you
mitzvah.
get a kilo pras.
Yeah. Oh no, Hashem is going to give you a process. Hashem, if you do it, but you don't do it because you're getting the process. Now, for example, a person's in the army, right? The sergeant's telling him you're going in a 5-mile run, right? I want the bakshis, I want something bad. But if you're in the clink, the sergeant says run, you run. He says 50 push-ups, you do 50 push-ups, right? That's it. Right? If you don't do the 50 push-ups, what happens to you?
You do guard duty all night.
Gardening, yes, sir. That's right. So you don't have a choice, right? That's a tzibur. The sergeant is with Tsama, and you don't get any reward for it, right? Now, HaKodesh Baruch Hu could do the same thing, lahavdil. He could say we have to do all the mitzvahs we have to do, all the asays and all the los asays, and he says you don't need it. You're not getting any reward. But no, in spite of the fact that HaKodesh Baruch Hu is commanding us and we need to do them and everything, we still get a reward, and we have to believe in reward and punishment. That's one of the Yikrim of the Rambam. If you don't believe in skarvonish, a person is lacking one of the basic foundations of Yiddishkeit. He's got a screw loose. He's not a screw loose. It's missing. He's missing a screw.
But you're flying back to the story of Mashiach Yeshalyim. If you're doing everything ba'ava or b'yira.
Yeah, it always goes.
That's the whole story.
That's right. That's even.
Ba'ava we're doing without the pass.
You're not feeling so I'll have Gan Eden.
Yeah. See the way the approach.
No, you're doing it because you're not you're afraid that you're gonna live from.
Yeah, the pachad there is a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. See, the approach that I was taught is there's yediyah, there's knowledge, and there's lemaisa, meaning the yediyah that we get skarva oynish, that we do the mitzvahs, we get reward, if we don't do them, there's going to be punishment. That's a yediyah, that's knowledge. We have to have that knowledge. The ma'isa, when you come to do it, you're not doing because of that. That knowledge should not affect your desire to do or not to do. Right? You have to separate them. You have to make them two different things.
So I'll try.
Yeah, how many people think you get them? You want to do the right thing. You never know you what get them.
Yeah, Pashas, you ask him what, like, a few days ago, tap a guy on the shade, he's on his fourth glass of wine. Ask, why are you doing this? If he's a smart fellow, he's an Ovid Hashem, he says, because it says in Shulchan Aruch. Right? Yeah. It says in Shulchan Aruch, you don't have to go too
That's
deep.
why I was brought up, that's my father told me.
Right.
Look, if it's about Tshuva then you learned it the way or whatever.
Right. Look,
Right thing to do, that's all.
Torah is very easy. Torah is really very, very easy. You don't have to make Torah very complicated.
I say that also.
You don't have to make it complicated. You can make it complicated, but it's not. You don't have to make it.
I told my children also, they're all okay, but to do the basics is not that hard.
No.
You never have, no matter where you're in, to do the basics, that down, put on tefillin for a few minutes.
Sure.
The basics.
Right.
Everything else is about you.
Right. Sometimes. Exactly. Sometimes I see a
not up to the learning, so just say Krishna.
Yeah. sometimes I see a bar mitzvah book, he's getting bar mitzvah, I say, listen, you know, you're very lucky, you know, now you're bar mitzvah, right? Up until now, you're doing all kinds of different things. You're tying your shoes, you're eating and everything like this, right? Things that everybody does. Everybody in the world puts on shoes, unless it's a poor, they don't even have shoes, right? We have a mitzvah to put on the right one first, then the left one, and tie the left one, and tie the right one, right? No one else has a mitzvah. Everyone eats, everyone drinks. There's a mitzvah to make a bracha, right? That's just an idea how much Hashem loves us. You're basically doing most everything you're doing, right? You're doing like everybody else in the world, but you're doing it because HaKodesh Baruch Hu is commanding you to do it. Not simply because you want to put shoes on your feet, because you want to be able to run or walk or do something like that. Putting shoes on in a specific way, because that's the way the Shulchan teaches you. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at Rashi, what Rashi says about this. Yeah, you want to continue with the Rashi? The Gimel, and the Yetigas Gimel, Shimon HaTzadik.
אנטיוכוס קיבל משמעון הצדיק את התורה, הוא היה אומר, אחי הווה, מילתא מהרגלה פומה.
So it says like this, Antipas was makabel the Torah, right, from Shimon HaTzadik. Now we have to explain, what does it mean? As we said at the very beginning, when we said Moshe Kibul Torah Masina Moshe Yeshua, Yeshua is a king, Levim, Moshe Lanchi Kanus Gedoyla, we said that Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu was makabel was not the simple Torah Shebiksav, because everyone, that's not, you don't need a real Kabbalah for that. That you take a look in the Sefer Torah, and Moshe Rabbeinu the last day was like, he wrote a Sefer Torah, right? So that can't be what he was giving over to Yeshua. So what was he giving over to Yeshua? So the Mefarshim basically explained the basic derech, the way, the methodology of learning Torah, right? That's the ikar over here. The methodology, the approach that we take to Torah. How do we approach Torah? That's what's being transferred from one generation to the next in a Talmud and Rebbe relationship. So that's what's unique and special here, right? And he says also Pshat Hua Haya Omer. That expression which we see constantly through Pirkei Avos, that expression Hua Haya Omer, that means to say, right? That's something which is always morgula. It was always habitually in his mouth. Morgula. It was always used to say. It was his own, like a very pet saying. You know, sometimes you meet people like that they're emphasizing something very much, very deeply, and very widely. They explain it in many different ways, but it's basically the same message. Because that's their, just like you have a piano, and I don't know too much about pianos or music, but you know, you have E chords, F chords, I don't know, something like that, right? So each chord has its own little tune, its own little note, right? So each chacham also had his particular note, sort of saying, which he emphasized and carried down from one generation to the next. Okay, let's continue.
אל תהיו כעבדים, עולה פרס, לשון ערך כמו שערכך. ויקרא כ"ז ותרגמינן בפורסני פרס, מתנה.
Right, take the Rashi here. Let's take a look at the Rashi. The Rashi here says like this. What's pras? Pras is lashon oirech, meaning it's value. Like oirech is a value, right? So pras is almanas lekabel pras. What does it mean? Almanas lekabel pras, right? So it's a lashon oirech promote oirechecha. That's the lashon of the Torah. Like you want to give an oirech in something, you want to give a value, and take the value of something and give that to the base of Mikdash. With Targumim, what's the Targum? You take a look in the Torah, right, where it speaks about the Erechim. That Targum over there is for Sunaya, for Sunay. Just like Parnassus, the same Lashon Parnassus comes from the same Shorish, right? Parnassus is a person's sustenance, right? So here it's also, he gets like sustenance. So you don't serve a HaKodesh Baruch Hu in order that you should get sustenance, in order that you should get some type of either physical benefit in this world or a spiritual benefit in the next world. That's not the object of doing the will of the HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Okay, pras matana.
פרס מתנה, נשאי מנחה. מה זה? ש"ב? מה זה ש"ב?
Plus you shmu beis. Plus it's
Yeah, hey, 1 second. Let me look here.
Pirkei plus.
Shoiftim Gimel, if I'm not mistaken. Those are possibly a person who's Shoiftim, right?
I think shoftim is one. Shmu beis probably.
Okay, according to this one, it says hey. According to my situation here, I'm trying to check. I'm trying to check.
טוב, תרגום נטלי פרס. בערך פרס, כלומר שלא תמר לקיים מצוות בבורים כדי שיספיק לי כל צרכים, אלא עבד ואהבה.
So therefore, Eric Pras, for value, you shouldn't be serving Kadosh Baruch Hu for the value of a reward. Kolomar, Shlo Tormir, don't say, it's Kayim Mitzvos Boroi, I'm going to fulfill the commandments of my Creator, Kedei Shiaspik Li Otzarki, in order that I should get all my needs. To get all my needs. Right? Ella oivin mi'ava. Rather, a person should serve the Kadosh Baruch Hu from Ava. So you see what this person's saying here. The Rashi is explaining very basically when we're talking about a pras. And he says, I'm going to put on tefillin in order so I should get breakfast this morning. I put on tefillin. So now, since I was a good boy, I davened. I put on tefillin. Said, please, well, now you should do nice eggs, rogalach here, nasharai. I should have a nice breakfast. Now, if you look at it very basically, that's a big. He's shortchanging himself. If you think about what the reward of a mitzvah is. Skar mitzvah hayam aleka. The reward for a mitzvah is not in this. We can't fit it into this world because the reward for a mitzvah is something ruchnius, right? So you can't fit ruchnius into this world. Right? It just doesn't fit. It's a whole different situation. It's a different dimension, right? So imagine this guy that he thinks that, for example, putting on his tefillin is worth his breakfast, or even his lunch and his dinner all together. How do you like that? So he's gonna put on tefillin. He's gonna get himself 3 square meals a day, maybe a cocktail before dinner also, right? Go to the happy hour and get he'll get a sitting sometimes is happy and he's gonna give him a free one, right? Right. So isn't it that kind of a changing in the tremendous, infinite reward that a mitzvah can give to a person, right? And selling it off to get some small change in this world, right? But I guess it's obviously, look, if Pirkei is teaching us this, obviously it's something that had to be taught. And obviously, it's for those people on high madrigas talking about the time of the Tanoim already. So obviously it's something which needs to be explained to the Jewish people. Okay, let's continue. Another one.
והיא מורה שמיים עליכם, לפי שאין שכר מצווה בעולם הזה, שנאמר בדברים דבריו, אשר נכין לצורך היום לעשותם, ולא היום ליטול שכרם. וישיא ספר ערוך של צדוק ובייטוס, תלמידיו של אנטיאגוס היו, ולימד להם, אל תהיו כעבדים וכו', אלא כעבדים שמשמשים את הרב על מנת שלא לקבל פרס. ובלא פרס להם הטעם, מפני שהיה רגיל לומר כן נהפוכו למינות, ונקראו כל הבאים אחריהם צדוקים ובייטוסים.
So this is what a mistake that came out, right, from what Tzadok Ubaisus misunderstood what the Rebbe Antigonus Yisroel was teaching them. It says here again that the first have since it's not possible that you can have the reward for the mitzvah in this world, it's not for this place. Olam Hazeh is not the place to get the reward of the mitzvahs, and this time in this world is not the time to receive the reward for the mitzvahs. So both in time and space, the reward for mitzvahs does not fit into this world, into this world, right? So I mean, then you could ask yourself, well, if a person is going to get some kind of reward for the mitzvahs, what is he getting here, right? That's another question we could deal with. Won't have time for that today. But now the Rashi goes on to he says that he saw in the Sefer Orich, that Saduk and Vaisus were Talmidim of Antigonus Ish, and he taught them that you shouldn't be like the Avarim of Makabel Pras, rather you should do it Shalom Asakabras. And what happened? Lo Pirish, Rashi, Lo Pirish Lehem, Hatam. He didn't explain to them the time. He didn't explain to them the reason, right? And because I think he's explaining why didn't he explain it to them? Since he was so used to saying this, he didn't explain the reason to the Talmidim. And from that, the name Shahaya Roman, the Hafkul it came switched over to Midas, meaning a heresy. And they call everything would come after them in the same way. Stukim Ubaisis. Those were the groups, the splinter groups from Yiddishkeit, the Judaism that resulted from this mistake that Antigonus did not explain the reason to Tzaddik Ubaisis. Okay, we'll have to stop here. We'll maybe continue with that later and explore. We have to, I mean, what is the reason, right? The Mishnah didn't explain the reason. Rashi up till this point didn't explain the reason. So what is the reason? They went up the derek because he didn't explain the reason. But so maybe someone should tell us what the reason is. We got to figure that one out.
Because he's supposed to do L'Shem Shamayim, so that's why you shouldn't do it for reward. I mean, these weren't Talmidim from 2016 America, 2018 America. These were Talmidim of great people, and they should have been a certain level.
Yeah, right. Okay, but Rashi's throwing this he's waving a red flag. He's like telling us there's something going on here. They went off the derech. True, they went off the derech, but apparently the blame, Rashi's leveling the blame to be on the Rebbe, that Antigonus didn't explain them the reason. And but then so obviously there is a reason, and we have to try and maybe find out what the reason is. I said a lot of prefaces before we got into this, but I'm not going to claim to say the reason that the Noim would say. I have to try and understand what the Noim would say. So Mitzvah Hashem will try and work on that for tomorrow. Be'ezrat Hashem. We'll start Hilchos Pesach now, so that'll bring us, we'll need Chelik Hay. I'll get some from upstairs.